Today's episode of Explainiac is brought to you by Playmates Toys and Walmart, the monster of all retailers. And now, a brief history of Godzilla vs. Kong. In this corner, weighing in at 99,634 tons, standing 393 feet tall with a case of seriously bad breath. It's the savior of San Francisco, the big guy, the reigning king of the monsters, Godzilla! And in this corner, coming all the way from Skull Island, this ape-like titan isn't monkeying around, standing 104 feet tall, weighing 158 tons at least when he was a teenager. Give it up for Dokuro to no Shugoshi, the mountain who thunders death, King Kong! Excuse me. In 2021, these two titans of the Monsterverse will finally go head-to-head on the big screen, pitting these modern interpretations of these colossal creatures against one another for the very first time in the modern cinematic universe. And considering that we've seen Godzilla literally pulsing with untold power in Godzilla King of the Monsters, and Kong leaving a skullcrawler positively tongue-tied in Kong Skull Island, it's difficult to say who's the bigger, badder behemoth on the block. Honestly, the fans are the real winners here because we get a sweet new line of Godzilla vs. Kong toys from Playmates. Godzilla and Kong aren't just two of the most iconic movie monsters of all time, they've shared a decades-long rivalry stretching all the way back to the 1960s. So it all began way back in 1962 with King Kong vs. Godzilla. Neither of these characters had been in the limelight in years. Kong hadn't appeared on screen since 1933's The Son of Kong, and Godzilla had taken a cinematic hiatus since 1955's Godzilla Raids Again. Now, originally, King Kong wasn't even gonna fight Godzilla. An animator had the idea for the great ape to do battle with a giant version of Frankenstein, but copyright issues ultimately derailed that plan. So instead they reworked the script to be King Kong vs. Prometheus, a clever nod to the latter half of that decidedly public domain novel, Frankenstein or the Modern Prometheus. Yeah, you see what they did there. So selling American studios on the idea of an elaborate, expensive movie requiring exhaustive stop-motion animation ultimately didn't pan out, but thankfully for monster movie fans, the producers found a willing partner in the iconic Japanese studio, Toho. Having put Godzilla on ice both figuratively and literally so they could build out new kaiju characters, Toho jumped at the opportunity to make a King Kong movie. He was a character they had long admired. But the prospect of Kong battling Frankenstein wasn't up to snuff. They needed something bigger, badder, and bolder. They needed Godzilla. And the film delivered on its promise with an epic finale featuring Kong and Godzilla doing righteous battle before plummeting off a cliff into the Pacific Ocean. Emerging seemingly triumphant, Kong surfaces and the audience is left to wonder what happened to Godzilla. And for years there was this long-standing and erroneous rumor that claimed there were two endings to the movie. One for Japan where Godzilla wins, another for the US where Kong wins because, sure, why not? So it's true, the American version of King Kong vs. Godzilla was different. They added a handful of American characters for US audiences, but there is no alternate ending in either version, it's just a rumor. Though some took the film's ending as a sign of King Kong's victory, we know that Godzilla is quite at home underwater. I mean, Gojira is literally a portmanteau of the Japanese words for gorilla and whale, and from a box office perspective, one could argue that Godzilla was the real winner here. Now, Kong appeared again in King Kong Escapes. It saw him fighting a giant robotic version of himself named Mechani-Kong, built by the nefarious Doctor Who, and no, not that one. But unfortunately, due to complicated legal battles, Toho lost the rights to use Kong, and plans to use this character again fell through. Meanwhile, King Kong vs. Godzilla made the King of the Monsters a hot commodity once more, and Godzilla went on to battle everyone from Rodan to King Ghidorah in so many movies, they had to divide them into distinct eras. In the modern era, Legendary and Toho showed us perhaps the biggest, baddest version of Godzilla yet in 2014. We learned what can happen when you're on the receiving end of that heat ray as he turned those Mutos into Mutoast. Now the stakes got even higher in Godzilla King of the Monsters when the big guy well and truly lived up to that movie's subtitle, proving that 3 heads are not always better than 1, especially if said heads kinda look like giant prehistoric noodles. Now as for Kong, that primordial primate was reborn in epic fashion in Kong Skull Island. Kong is the true wild card here because the events of Kong Skull Island took place back in the 70s when he was just a teenager, and considering the concept art we've seen of Kong and Godzilla going head to head on an aircraft carrier, there, it's safe to say Kong grows up to be one seriously strong simian. Now both these mega-sized monsters have their strengths and their weaknesses, but they've defeated countless other threats, both human and otherwise, so it's difficult to say definitively who's gonna win their next throwdown. Truth be told, Dr. Serizawa summed things up best in 2014's Godzilla when he said, "Let them fight." We'll just have to wait and see what happens when Godzilla vs. Kong hits theaters in 2021. In the meantime though, you can always reenact the battle for yourself by staging it with these awesome action figures from Playmates. Let us know who you think would win in the comments below and tell us why, and who knows, you might just emerge a winner. Thank you again to Playmates Toys and Walmart for sponsoring today's show. When Godzilla vs. Kong hits the big screen, those two colossal creatures won't be toying around. But thankfully, you can with this incredible line of movie figures from Playmates Toys, available exclusively at Walmart. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed what you just saw, please consider sharing this video with your friends and hit that little bell down below so you never miss a new episode. And if you want even more deep dives, wild theories, and pop culture histories, check out past episodes of Explainiac right now wherever fine Nerdist content is streamed. And remember, not everything in life can be explained, but for everything else, there's this show.